All right. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to what is the first Veteran Secrets show where we're bringing on guests that, have something unique that they've, figured out personally or professional at some point during their active duty military career, maybe in their transition themselves, or maybe they're already as a veteran or started a business or whatever it is. We all know we've been through something in our lives that we kind of had epiphany around, and we're kind of wondering, why didn't somebody tell me this before at some point? And that's what this show's all going to be about. It's based around the concept of my new book that's coming out on Veterans Day. We're gonna, it's free online. You can always get it at veteranwealthsecrets.com. I'm not trying to charge people money, but if you want the Amazon version of it, we're gonna make it free on Amazon as well. Would love to have you go get the book and leave a review. But enough of that. We want to get to the insight we have today. And gosh, I feel so lucky and so honored to have, such a leader, because we all know who the real leaders in the military are, especially in the Army. I was in the Army, and it's our senior NCOs, and especially those command sergeant majors who I remember as a butter bar I was afraid of. Let me bring them on. Command Sergeant Major Maurice Chaplin. Whoops. Oh, sorry. Oh, there you go. I just accidentally.
Hey, how's it going, Scott?
Hey, Sergeant Major Maurice Chaplin from the 8th Theater Sustainment Command out in Fort Shafter, Hawaii. But this guy has, got all. I went and looked at the webpage, looked at your resume. I mean, you got all the awards. You said you had 90 jumps, so I know you've had an amazing career. And looking forward to seeing you more on the socials.
Oh yeah, definitely.
More about it. But thank you so much for joining. How's it going out there in Hawaii right now? You're up and early. Already done your PT, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah. That's what good soldiers do. Get up first thing in the morning, get some PT, and that's how we start our day. Everything is going great out here in Hawaii.
Cool,
as you can see, I'm not sure if you can really see the backdrop, but, it's been a great day, a great morning. But everything is going great out here in the Pacific. Phenomenal place to serve. I couldn't ask for a better place to be right now.
Yeah, it's everybody gets lucky when we have so few cool assignments in the Army, at least,
and this is definitely one of them.
Right. So no, glad you're getting to end your career at such a beautiful place. But hey, let me ask you, I mean, we're in strange times, to say the least, this last year of 2020, and I can't imagine what it's like to be a senior leader, getting troops through the new rules and regulations that were put in place. I'm curious a little bit. What was that like? How is that compared to other challenges you might have had in your career? And what's life like for you nowadays as you're thinking about getting out, as you're planning on ending your 31 career, 31
years,
career,
yeah, definitely,
yeah.
Yeah, Scott, definitely. This has been a huge change for the military and the DoD at writ large. We're used to interacting with our soldiers on a daily basis. However, in the COVID environment, things have become decentralized. We were pretty much forced to use Microsoft Teams, Zoom, or any other various media that we could check on our soldiers, or even provide a block of instructions, through the social media platforms as you and I are using here at this point in time. Especially here on the island of Hawaii. When COVID initially broke out, it was one, maybe two cases here, probably a month or so after it broke out in the mainland. However, the state of Hawaii took drastic measures, you pretty much shut the island down. The numbers began to creep up just because of, some personnel had made it in. And so they shut the island down, and that also affected the military as we look to be good neighbors with the local community. We also, went by the state guidelines, and, and in some cases that even included, us reducing our change of command or change responsibility ceremonies, where you would normally have hundreds of soldiers on the field. That was reduced to 10 people. So if you can imagine that, and so those are just that. For one instance, is just one of the huge changes that have taken place across the Army, and specifically here on Hawaii. We have the beautiful backdrops, we have the state come out, to various level of ceremonies. But again, it was reduced to 10 people. And that 10 people included your family, the guest speaker, the sergeant major, or the camera guys. And so you had to become creative in this environment to fully, support your soldiers, to support your command. And then with us being here in the Pacific, we're away from everyone. So a lot of times we would have to travel, to get to the Pacific, Japan, Korea, or other places, or even to the mainland. And again, we were forced, to use social media platforms. So it has made us rethink, how we operate, how we function, how we communicate, our day-to-day interaction. You have to check on soldiers more. So it definitely challenged us. But, as a good Army, we overcame it. And, we're continuing to roll on.
Yeah, I was going to ask, adapt and overcome. We understand, how the military works. But at the same time, was that a psychological kind of like just out of left field? Like, I mean, we understand combat, take the hill, it's like follow orders. And then all of a sudden it's like, what, we can't even stand next to each other? Obviously we got to do what you got to do. But, now I'm sure, maybe you could speak on some of the net positives when it comes to things like communications that might have came out of that. Like,
well,
what are your thoughts on that?
It did affect your psyche because we're used to large gatherings. We're used to how they say
camaraderie.
Camaraderie, make your buddy smile. All of us have heard that a million times.
Yeah.
When we're standing together in a group, or we pack a huge formation in the theater for NCOPD or a briefing from the commanding general or whoever. So initially it did challenge our psyche, or make you rethink your leadership style and your leadership ability, because now it has to be decentralized. And so now, if you, an old timer like me, you may not be caught up on the social media aspect. So now you have to learn to bring your the entire squad, or your platoon sergeants or your first sergeants into one forum, into one meeting. So, some retraining, some rebluing took place with us at echelons, throughout the military.
No, that's super interesting. But no, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I always love getting that kind of senior leader insight on how the world's working in the military. I'm almost. God, I'm 12 years removed since when I got out.
You're still looking good, though. You're still looking good.
I've always stayed, close to military bases. I was in, Stuttgart for a while, and in San Diego, got to see Navy life. And I was like, oh man, maybe I should have gone that road. You get these nice things. But no, the reason we had you on the show, clearly, as someone who's had 31 years as a senior leader, I mean, I'm sure you didn't enter the Army thinking of, well, actually maybe you did.
No, I didn't.
That you'd be becoming the sergeant major, because we all know what it's like in the early years, how much we respect and even fear some of that leadership. But I asked you to come on because I know you got lots of wisdom to drop, but what's the one secret that you found throughout your career, either personally or professionally, that maybe you wish somebody would have told you before, or it's helped you out in a unique way that you weren't expected, that you wanted to kind of share with those who are listening in our audience, but also those coming behind you on their own paths?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that I've learned is to overcome the fear of investing, or to try and get to some type of financial freedom. There's a lot of regulations, FMs, ATPs, ADPs that we have in the Army that govern our actions and our way of doing business. But a lot of times we don't truly get the full scope of financial investments, or financial freedom or financial management. As you say, you served, and a lot of times we don't get to that point until a soldier have not paid their bills or received a call from a debtor, and then we want to counsel the soldier. But where was the counseling beforehand to train that soldier on hey, this is how you must manage your bank account, or these are some secrets to get you to financial wealth down the road. We've recently come out with the blended retirement plan, but that's a source of investing. And that's now for the more junior soldiers who just recently joined the Army.
Mm-hmm.
But for old timers as myself, I never received that. On my initial entry into the Army. Back then, it was just savings bonds that took 15, 20 years to mature.
Right.
And at that point, they were just paper to you. But that's one of the biggest things that I wish I had, as a private, in the Army, is sit down and say, hey, Private Chaplin, this is what you do. These are some means to achieve financial freedom, 4 years, 10 years, 30 years down the road, So when you get out in the Army, yes, you'll have a retirement plan, you'll have your TSP, but also you can have your own personal, mutual fund, money market account, or your stock account. Those are the things that we don't always, teach the formation.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to dig in a little bit more because you mentioned overcoming the fear of investing. What do you mean by that? The fear.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, we all know, in the military, and that's all branches, you're not rich. Your pay is not the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
You do it for the love of country. And as a young private, as a young E2 or E3, you're getting $700-800, and you need to secure all of that $700-800. And the fact that you're saying, hey, if I'm telling you, hey, Private Tucker, go and invest $150 a month, in your mind, you're thinking, I can't live without that $150.
Yeah.
And so, but if we get to the point to give that individual soldier or service member the sense of security to say, hey, if you do this, this is your result. Let me educate you on how your money will grow, how your money will work for you 10, 15 years down the road. We have ACS that come in, they provide some services. However, it's at the surface level. It doesn't go beyond such as that iceberg. It doesn't go underneath, that surface level. So, when I first joined, although I was coming in basic training, they told me they was going to take $100 a month, for the GI Bill. I'm like, I need that $100. I'm like, why? I couldn't wait for that $100 to stop, because I wanted that $100 to increase my, my money to do whatever I want to do, leisure, movies, or whatever. And so, and that's why I say we got to overcome that fear. And I think achieving that is with education on how we can make our money grow for us.
Yeah, because I'm always curious. I mean, this isn't just in the military a problem. It's part of the American education system. I mean, part of me thinks there's an intentionality behind why we're not educated as children, how money works, how business works, and that kind of stuff. But that's aside the point. I applaud the military, especially in recent years, to bring out more and more education. But at the end of the day, what I've come to find is the stats don't show that the numbers are drastically improving, that all of a sudden everybody's realizing, oh, I shouldn't go buy a Mustang. I should put it away. And I think it's part of the shiny object syndrome. I mean, for obvious reasons, a lot of our young soldiers are coming from situations where maybe they haven't been well off financially, and all of a sudden they're getting a steady paycheck.
Absolutely.
Even though $700-800 isn't that much, it actually is. Yeah, absolutely. It can be.
And it's consistent. Mm-hmm. It's consistent.
It ain't going away unless you screw up.
Absolutely.
But, so it's like, the fear of not invest. I mean, the problem is the shiny object of, oh, hey, this is going to build over 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, man, that's hard of a motivating factor. What do you think might be a motivating factor? And I don't know if there is any, honestly, for folks to say, yeah, this is the smartest thing I could do to be put a few $100 away. What was it for you or tell us about when you had your epiphany to start doing that, and what was like before and after?
Mine was twofold, actually. Mine was, I was in Germany, in Augsburg, Germany, and I had a second job at exactly. I had a second job at the movie theater, and I was just blowing money. And I had a guy, and this was back in 1996. I had a guy by the name of Master Sergeant Earl Drummond who snatched me up I'll never forget it because it
You
changed my
remember
life
him.
at that point.
Wow.
Absolutely. And so, he was like, hey, man, what are you doing? He was like, I always see you out here blowing money, wasting money, this and that. He was like, I'm coming to see you on Monday. So I was like, okay, and Monday he came to see me. He sat me down. He came to my office. I was a supply sergeant, had my office. He was like, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to put some money up. You need to start a mutual fund, a money market account. You need to save some money, this and that. And then maybe about a year later, my daughter was born. So that was really the turning point for me to make me understand I can't go and blow all this money that I used to now. I now have a child to take care of, and so that money that I would waste, it now went on diapers, clothes, strollers, and things of that nature. So those are my two turning points for me. And, and then, and as you mentioned, the shiny object. I think if we, we can sit soldiers down and show them, hey, this is how your money can grow. With the rule of 72, compound interest, and let it grow. If you stay in the Army 4 years, 10 years, 20 years, this is how it will grow. And like I say, the Army has the blended retirement plan. That was recently initiated maybe about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2018, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. But however, not everyone took advantage of it. We put education out there. We educated the soldier left and right, up and down on it. And, it was validated at every level. And so, but a lot of soldiers didn't want to do it because they didn't fully understand it or could see, their end state. They couldn't fully see their end state. And so, me as a sergeant major, or me having the experience that I have, I try and explain to soldiers, hey, what are you doing with your financial, investments? But some people don't take it the same way. Some people feel that you're invading their privacy, when you're having those conversations with them. So you have to kind of tread lightly. You can have it as a general conversation and hopefully someone bite on it and say, hey, what was that thing you were talking about, about investments? So we just have to be crafty on how we message it and, with the intent to not offend anyone, because everyone's financial situation is different. We have people in the military that are taking care of their family back at home, and so the number of, variables that goes along with the Army paycheck, is limitless. But, to get to that financial freedom, you just have to find what works for you, or even listen, or even, take some advice, from others, or look to see what some others may have secured, say, hey, I want that. It's just like rank. Everyone says, hey, I want to be a commander, or I want to be a command sergeant major. You have to put that work in, that intellectual rigor to get to that point. You don't just wake up and say, hey, I'm the sergeant major the next day, or, I'm a general the next day. It comes with time. It comes with investments. It comes with education. There's a lot of gates that you have to go through to get to that point.
Yeah, it's hey, we know what the pay scale is. We know how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah,
right,
no
exactly.
secret.
Why do we act all like, oh, we're broke? I've seen some E4s save more money than O6s.
I agree.
I mean,
200%.
so
I've seen it as well.
There's definitely, no excuses. What I write about in my book, and what I'm trying to make the shiny object, is having folks understand, hey, this modern economy we're in, and one way or the other, you're getting out of the military at some point.
Yes.
And so whatever benefits you may or may not get, if we're saving money for that opportunity when we leave the military, now all of a sudden, you can go create your shiny object. If you want. You don't have to just go take another job and translate the skills. So, that's, I appreciate your insight on, motivating folks to save money. I just want to add a little bit more there. Hey, it's because that opportunity comes the day you leave the military. If you save enough, you might not have to get another job.
You may not have to.
I talked to a lot of, maybe you could talk on this a little bit before we sign off here, but I talked to a lot of senior NCOs, and I was an officer, but I understand, career NCOs, they tell me, you know what, we're just exhausted. And I don't know if you feel that way or if you know folks that do. And, if they could, imagine, but they all have to go get a job.
Yeah.
And it's like, imagine if you didn't need to do that. And it's clearly possible because there are people who do that.
It's possible. I'll tell you, Scott, it's a few things. One is that overcoming the fear of investment, to where you start. You have to live within your means. You got to learn the difference between want and need. That's one of the big things. You got to learn the difference between that. We have responsibilities, ourselves. We have to sit down and say, okay, this is how much I have. This is my budget. We must establish a budget. And if you blow that budget at that time, you have to have the intestinal fortitude to say, okay, I'm going to sit down. I'm not going out to the movies this week. I've blown my budget for this period. And another thing, before we sign off, we have to stay away from the multiple credit cards. That kills us, and in this day and age, online shopping is just a click away. It's just a click. Amazon, Walmart, you name it. And you can have it in 3 days, 2 days, or a day with Amazon Prime, depending on where you're at. If there's a distribution center close to you.
Yeah, not to mention all the military discounts. It's like, what's the point of the discount if you didn't need the thing? Because then you're still spending more money, right?
You're still spending.
I mean, that's unfortunately, a lot of the psychology of really understanding what persuasion and marketing is. The better you learn those skills, the better you can promote yourself, but the better you can see what's happening to you.
Absolutely. Right? And then, you look at it, you say, Jeff Bezos is the richest man in the world. I just got 5 boxes from Amazon. I just helped make him the richest man again. And so it depends on that psyche of how you look at things and, how you assess things and, your capabilities. I think if you make your money truly work for you in your 20 years of serving, if you choose to serve 20 years, you can come out in financial freedom, not having to work and enjoy life.
That, and I think in this day and age, the more veterans that are not, coming out of the military feeling like they're in a position where they have to work to live, that if they could be in a position to live to work or live to do whatever they want, then we have more veterans that aren't, in a job that they don't like, where they can't continue to be a leader in the same way. Because I think right now America needs more of us out of the cubicles and into. I'm not saying everybody's got to start a nonprofit or get into politics, of course not, but it's just if some way you weren't forced to be like, well, I got to go listen to the man from 9 to 5 from Monday to Friday. It's hard to get up on Saturday and Sunday and, go do that. I know so many do, but I understand that's a void I think we can fill as well. If folks really want to continue to be of service after their military career, then, there's a financial component to that. It's just not hey, I'm going to go volunteer all my time. We only have so much time.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, and I think it's one of those things, everyone, and that's what I've learned. Everyone's situation is different. Their family is different. Their lives are different, and a lot of times that dictate what they spend or what they can or cannot save. So, it's one of those things that, the possibility is there. You just have to manage it internally, what fits your family, So that's really one of the biggest takeaways from this.
Cool. Well, let's close it out with this. I got one last question because I'm excited for you after 31 years. What's next for Sergeant Major Chaplin? Like if I had you on the show a few years from now, I definitely want to have you back on after we find out kind of what you've been up to. But what do if we were having this conversation 3 years from now and we're looking back to this first interview, what do you feel would have to happen for you personally or professionally for you to feel good about your transition into post-military life?
Well, I feel good, even at this point.
Good.
It's a blessing. It's a privilege to serve. You serve the soldiers, you serve your community, you serve your country. So that's a privilege, number one. Probably 3 years from now, if and when we do this video, I'll probably be sitting on a boat somewhere. Fishing.
Love it. Okay.
Yeah, I'll probably be sitting on a boat fishing, probably be that guy volunteering, benefiting some of the lessons that I've learned along the way to allow me to get to that point.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for joining us and sharing your wisdom. Can't wait to help network with you on
Definitely.
the social medias and so on. But hey, for everybody out there listening, hey, take the Sergeant Major's words to heart. No matter where you're at in your career, when it comes to things like finances, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best time? Right now. So, there's all sorts of risks out there in finances, with how the stock market's going to do, how tax is going to do, none of it matters if you're not doing anything with preparing for your future, whatever that might be. And in this day and age, that's, things are changing so quickly. You want to be in a position to take advantage of opportunities, avoid risks, and so on. So that's what our message is at Veteran Wealth Secrets. Couldn't have been a more perfect topic and insight for the show, Sergeant Major. So thanks again. And for everybody else, we will see you next time.
Take care, Scott. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, you bet.
All right.